There are 50 states in this country. You got to do well in 50 states. We have now won 9 states, and most of them by pretty large margins. We think we're going to have a good Tuesday. We have had, this is our 3rd rally of the day here in Florida. I don't know, 8,000 people out there. So we think it's going to be a good Tuesday.
All right. Obviously, he's very confident as Bernie Sanders. In the 9 states he's won, I think compared to the 13 or so Hillary Clinton has won, he can make an argument that he has sort of a cross-country appeal in Michigan, Maine, Nebraska, Kansas, Vermont, Oklahoma, Minnesota, and on we go, all tipping off with New Hampshire when the whole thing got started. National Union of Healthcare Workers President Sal Rosselli joining us right now. Sal is a big supporter of Bernie Sanders and has been. He does make a good point there, but will it be enough? I mean, that Michigan win, if you think about it, Sal, did change people's perception that maybe he's stronger in so-called Rust Belt states than was thought. Or is it, as some of the Hillary Clinton people have said, a one-and-done event? What do you think?
Well, obviously, Michigan shattered expectations, and I think the Wall Street Journal described it as unprecedented, historic upset. I think that, well, first of all, the polls were closer there than they are in Florida. The poll I saw this morning was 30% Hillary Clinton up on Bernie, but I'm still hopeful. I think it's the biggest advantage that Bernie has is the unprecedented numbers of donations from donors, you know, across this country. Approaching 3 million. You know, I'm a regular donor, so I get emails every day. And Tuesday night, I was watching the results of the Michigan primary, and when the results came in, I immediately got an email from Bernie's campaign that set a goal of $5 million to be raised to help with next week's elections. When I got up the next morning, there was an email that said that it exceeded the $5 million in less than 24 hours from 177,000 donors. And the important thing to note is that 99.9% of those folks like me, haven't maxed out on the $2,700 that they're allowed to give, so that
they can keep giving. That's
again.
A very good point, Sal. They can keep giving. But I did want to ask you about what is going on with unions in general, the AFL-CIO, and a lot of them where they might have obviously sympathetic Hillary Clinton supporters. As organizations, they're not coming out for Hillary Clinton herself, even with her repudiation, ironically, of the very trade agreements that were brought up under her president, or under her husband, President Clinton, and even repudiating some of the trade deals enacted by her last boss, President Barack Obama. What do you make of that, and whether unions are just turning a deaf ear to her?
Well, first of all, I think that most unions in the country that have endorsed Secretary Clinton did it in a top-down way, as opposed to listening to their members. You know, our union did a very opposite thing, where we went through a 3-month process, bottom-up, last fall, and eventually had a vote, and this is when Bernie was still in single digits.
Right.
And our leaders voted 72% to endorse Bernie to 17 for Mrs. Clinton. And it's because that Bernie, you know, understands and advocates for workers.
But it's not
and
just
the middle
Bernie,
class.
though, right, Sal? It's not just Bernie. I mean, many are concerned. I know at the AFL-CIO this is the case, and the United Mine Workers, where I know this is the case, the SEIU Service Workers Union, where it's getting to be a worrisome case, where the leadership is concerned about union members who are moving over to Donald Trump. What do you make of that?
I think it's because they're not consulted and not involved in the process. You know, it was interesting. The ride I had this morning, the driver, we started engaging in this, and I talked about Bernie Sanders, and this is a San Franciscan. And I asked him who he supported, and it was Donald Trump.
Wow.
And simply because he's disenfranchised with the system, anti-Washington, D.C., you know, struggling to get by, stagnated wages, not seeing a clear path to improving their lives, and not having any hope in the establishment for accomplishing that. So I think that's a common population and voter that both Bernie and Trump are appealing to.
Wouldn't that be a kick, though, with so much of the union vote, which has always avoided Republicans like the plague, ends up going to Donald Trump in droves?
Well, that's certainly a concern, and I think that a criticism that I have of many union leaders is that they don't engage and listen to their workers enough and empower their workers to make decisions in endorsement processes like this, so they own it.
Well, I think you did reveal a large crack there. Sal Rosselli, National Union of Healthcare Workers, the president there. Very good having you on. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.